Story number 1. In 1820, a man by the name of Martin Fugate settled in Troublesome Creek in eastern Kentucky. Fugate was actually orphaned, and why he moved to the east of Kentucky from France, which is where he was from, I don't know, but he did. While he was there, he married a woman named Elizabeth Smith, who was said to be, quote, as pale as the mountain laurel that blooms every spring. And while I'm sure that they were a very lovely couple, I've only ever seen a drawing of them. Unfortunately for them, they both possessed a recessive gene for the blood disorder called Shit, I had this the other day. I practiced. Methemoglobinemia. Methemoglobinemia.
Okay, yes. That sounds perfect.
Thank you. This blood disorder causes the methemoglobin, which is a form of hemoglobin, to be produced. And this form of hemoglobin is unable to carry oxygen, which is literally its one job. And it makes it difficult for the unaffected hemoglobins to release oxygen effectively to the body tissues. This results in purple lips, blue skin, and chocolate-colored blood. At this extraordinary meeting of people falling in love and having children resulted in 4 of their 7 kids having the condition. And I don't know that I have made this clear. They have blue skin. They are blue.
They're blue. The blue people of Kentucky. I've heard of them. Yes. I've seen pictures, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
So statistically and generally speaking, 2 unaffected carriers of a gene have a 1 in 4 or 25% chance of any one of their children becoming affected with the condition. 1 in 4 has a chance of not being affected at all, and 2 in 4 have a chance of also being unaffected carriers. Is very basic Punnett square type thing. So that doesn't mean that out of 4 kids, only 1 of them will definitely be affected, 1 will not, and the other 2 are silent carriers. That means for each child, there's a 25% chance of not being affected or being affected, and a 50% chance of being an unaffected carrier. It's like a roll of a 4-sided die. Anyway, normally, people have less than about 1% of this type of hemoglobin. When those levels rise to greater than 20%, heart abnormalities, seizures, and even death can occur, which should come as no surprise given the fact that their bodily tissues are not being supplied with the appropriate amount of oxygen.
Yeah.
Since most of the Fugates never suffered any related health effects and lived into their 80s and 90s, it's reasonable to figure that their levels were somewhere between 10 and 20%. So great enough to be seen, but small enough to not cause any adverse health effects. Even more unfortunate for the Fugates is the fact that there were no roads in the area, or very few, and no railroads would be built through there until the early 1910s, resulting in the Fugates marrying and having children with their own bloodline. Amongst Elizabeth's cousins, aunts, and uncles, who were also carriers of the gene. I have an image of their family tree, but it is impossible to make sense of because so many of them are intermarried. I cannot follow any of this. So anyway, by the 1960s, some of the family members were wanting a cure, not only because their skin marked them as different. Obviously, if you're blue, you stand out a little bit. But of course, because people had begun associating their skin color with the family's history of inbreeding, which again, is not surprising.
Yeah.
2 of the Fugates, by the names of Patrick and Rachel, then approached a Dr. Madison Calwain, a hematologist at the University of Kentucky, in search of a cure. Calwain had an idea, a crazy, kind of counterintuitive idea: add more blue. For reasons that I am sure are very sound scientifically, but that I have not actually researched, the best chemical for activating the body's process of turning this methemoglobin into hemoglobin is methylene blue dye. So Patrick and Rachel were given the dye in pill form, and literally within minutes, their blue skin disappeared and turned pink. And as long as they kept ingesting the pills regularly, they would continue to not be blue.
How about that?
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So today there is only 1 Fugate left. At any rate, he's the last that has been born. His name is Benji Stacy, and Stacy is one of several Fugate cousin names. There are like 5 Fugate cousin names. And Stacy is one of them. So Benji was the last one born. And although they have apparently lost all of their blue coloring up to this point, it apparently does still come out sometimes when they are cold or, ironically, flushed with anger. When they get mad, they flush blue.
Can you imagine?
I don't know that I would be able to take someone seriously and be like, are you all right? Like,
you're turning blue.
You're blue.
Are you okay? You about to pass out.
That would just make them more mad.
I know. With you laughing at them.
Yes, exactly. But anyway, so the legacy of the Blue Fugates of Kentucky still lives on as more than just a legend of the hollers and hills. They are a very real family who, for several centuries, were blue.
It's so incredible. And this is the only family that we know of that this has ever happened to?
I don't know if it's the only one that we know it's ever happened to. So as I was reading through some of the articles for this, one of the people that was interviewed was like a hematologist, and they're like, it's an incredibly rare condition because you have to have two people who are carriers of this very rare recessive gene have kids. And then each of those kids only has a 25% chance of exhibiting, the symptoms anyway. And they said that it's rare enough that it's not only mentioned in every textbook, but he was like, it's on every exam. He's like, you have to know it. Like, it's on every test because nobody has it. So I don't know, they're obviously not the only people who had it, but I think it is such a well-known case because there were so many of them for so long because they kept inbreeding, and they're all carriers of the gene. So as soon as they start having kids and their kids start having kids with one another, they're all blue. So yeah,
Jeez,
the Blue Fugates of Kentucky.
Yeah,